How's it going, folks? And welcome back to another one of my top 5 videos here on YouTube. A question that gets asked a lot with the way the historic format on Magic Arena works is, Jeff, what are the cards you would like to see added to historic from older sets? For people that aren't familiar with historic and Magic Arena's release plans, you should be aware that Pioneer as a format is coming to Magic Arena eventually over the next few years. So when I point out cards in this video, they are going to explicitly be cards that are not Pioneer legal, that I think would be good additions to the Magic Arena historic format. Because again, all of those Pioneer cards are guaranteed to be coming eventually. Also, Magic's got a really awesome history with a lot of fantastic cards that I think could make Historic a more sweet and fun place. So for today's video, I'm going to be covering just the top 5 Planeswalkers I would like to see added to Historic. And you'll be able to check back in here again on YouTube over the course of the next couple of weeks. I'm going to cover all of the different top 5 card types of things that I would like to see added to Historic via anthologies and other means eventually. So, clocking in at number 5 here, I would like to see Karn Liberated here added to Historic. And this is a card that people who have played Modern and Magic know has something of kind of a terrifying pedigree due to the Tron deck, but not coming down on turn 3 is a lot less scary of a thing. 7 mana is a very fair cost for this card. I think this card could be a sweet kind of control finisher in a way. It answers things by down ticking. It goes up to generate card advantage, and then it has this really sweet, unique, big effect of restarting the game with your permanents in play that you've exiled with him. So technically not a win the game, but likely win the game in a lot of situations. We've seen the kind of mostly artifact ramp decks, both black and red based, that I think would love to play this effect. And it's just a really sweet design that I think would add some interesting deck building to the format for us. Coming in at number 4 on my Planeswalkers I'd like to see added to the format is one of my personal favorites, Garrick Relentless here. So this is a flip Planeswalker here who comes in with 3 loyalty for 4 mana, and he has 2/0 abilities. So he can either make a 2/2 wolf, or he could deal 3 damage to a creature, and then that creature deals damage equal to its power back to him. And then he flips over when he's got less than 3 loyalty on him. And then the backside here pluses for the Death Touch Wolf, and then gives you this really sweet tutor effect to kind of let you toolbox. So I love this Walker design because the front half is a little bit of interaction as well as a way to impact the board. And then I'm a complete and total sucker for a toolbox package. So the fact that this card makes Death Touch tokens to gum up the board and then can pair those tokens with the ability to search your deck for a creature to solve whatever problems you're having, I think makes this design very sweet and is one that I would love to have. Clocking in at number 3 is a Planeswalker that I think might be one of the most unique Planeswalker designs in Magic, in that she only ticks down, but she could reset herself. So this was a card out of Conspiracy, and two down ticks here, and then the ability to blink herself to reset herself back to 5. I like that she can generate card advantage in like the control and mid-range matchups where she, makes them discard a card and you draw a card. So she can down tick twice, basically generating 2 for 0s. They lose and you gain. But she's also not terrible against aggro, because being able to drain them and buffer your own life total back up is very reasonable there as well. Because this Planeswalker was from a Conspiracy set, she's only legal in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander as far as Constructed goes. And I played her a little bit in Legacy, and I really loved the play patterns that she generates there, and I would love to see her added to the historic format for something like the Dead Guy Ale deck that I've played a bunch of. I think she'd be a great top-end piece of card advantage for that archetype. Coming in at number 2 on Planeswalkers I'd like to see added is Tessera, Agent of Bolas. This was a card that was just fantastically sweet when it was in Standard. This is a powerful Planeswalker effect, but notably it just doesn't go into every blue-black deck, because the way that this card works is a very real deck-building restriction around it, where you have to be very artifact-centric and based. And I feel like the artifact sub-themes that we saw from Kaladesh are like just on the cusp of being good enough in Historic in a couple different ways. And I think Tezzeret as a card could maybe push those up into tier 2 status and really allow them to kind of have a more mid-rangey artifact build that can, because with this, can generate card advantage and create threats for you to stabilize the board, as opposed to, like the Tempered Steel, more aggressive focus variations that we've seen exist in the format as is. Coming in at number 1 on Planeswalkers, I'd like to see added to Historic, is a very iconic one that's been powerful in a lot of different formats at a lot of different points, and that's Liliana of the Veil. I went back and forth on this one as to whether or not I wanted to say Liliana was a card that I wanted. She's definitely a very powerful effect, grinding players' hands out. She interacts with the board for just 3 mana, and then her ultimate often wins the game. You separate your opponent's permanents. This includes their lands, can be game ending in a lot of situations. Ultimately, I decided I would really like to see Liliana added to the format, in part because of the presence of Lurrus in the format. So you look at a lot of the mid-range creature decks in the format, and a lot of them, like the Arcanist decks, they're all playing Lurrus, right? And if Lurrus is a card that's going to remain legal in Historic, and maybe it shouldn't, so maybe that's a different discussion though, but assuming Lurrus is a card that people are going to be playing within the format, I think adding a sweet, powerful planeswalker like this to the format that makes people really ask themselves the question, do I want Lurrus or do I want this other powerful effect in my deck, like Liliana the Veil, introduces an interesting deck building question that players will have to answer. So I think she ultimately is one that I would like to see added to the format, not only because she's powerful and iconic as far as cards go, but I think she would introduce a good deck building question to players. There would be less of, okay, I probably want to be a Lurrus deck, to is this a Liliana deck, or is Lurrus still offsetting what this card can do in comparison? What do you think of my list here? Are there planeswalkers that aren't legal in Pioneer that you would like to see added to Historic that I missed here? Let me know in the comment sections down below, and stay tuned in the coming weeks for me going through creatures, artifacts, enchantments, and honestly, probably instants and sorceries too. I was thinking, did I want to cover instants and sorceries after the Mystical Archive? But I was going through the list of sweet cards I like casting, and I think there's a list of 5 cards from instants and sorceries I can pick out too, even post archive. So thanks for watching, folks, and I'll be back again real soon.